Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gents. This is DafubFilm&TV, and I have just finished watching episode 2 of Gen V, which is the spin off show to The Boys, if you didn't know that already. So, without further ado, spoiler warnings, and just in case there are spoilers, this is my review of that episode. Again, episode 2 kind of just really kind of juxtapose, I think it's the right term to use, juxtaposes the difference between this show, both in its first episode and its second episode, and what we have seen coming out of Disney Plus, specifically in terms of Star Wars content. Ahsoka is currently on air, as it were, releasing new episodes every week. The last episode, episode 8, is next week. And we've had Secret Invasion before that, and then we've had The Mandalorian Season 3, and then the Book of Boba Fett, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi. I didn't watch, I have watched MCU shows. I didn't watch Moon Knight, but I did watch Miss Marvel. I did watch the Captain America show and so on. And of course, season 1 of Loki. And certainly in the last kind of year or two, certainly with the Star Wars content, because I haven't watched as much of the MCU stuff, this show really kind of juxtaposes how badly, or kind of puts into kind of very, what is the term to use? It puts it into very kind of clear as day, or shows clear as day exactly how badly written this show is, or not this show, exactly how badly written compared to this show that Ahsoka is, and that the previous, certainly last couple of Star Wars shows have been, with the exception of Andor. Now, admittedly, Andor, in my view, is a bit slow to get going, and that kind of, sapped some kind of energy and inertia out of it. That's one of the reasons why it wasn't more of a views/ratings hit that it could have been, considering how well put together that show is overall. But compared to Ahsoka, like, more happened in terms of story in the first episode and the second episode of this show than has happened really in certainly the first, certainly 4 or 5 episodes of Ahsoka. There's a lot more dialogue overall. The writing is much better. The way the story and the story threads are kind of written into the show is much better done. It's much better kind of constructed and organized overall in comparison to this. Or this is, again, what am I saying, comparison to this? This is much better put together than Ahsoka is in particular. There are episodes, again, there's none of this. This episode is shorter than the last one. It's 49 minutes long, but that's still longer than pretty much most of the episodes we've seen of Ahsoka, and many of the episodes, a huge number of the episodes in the Secret Invasion were barely a little half an hour and a bit, 35 minutes, including both a previously on sequence at the beginning and credits at the end. Some even might have even been shorter than that. And there's been persistent problems with episode lengths that would be maybe appropriate to an animated show, but certainly not anything in live action we've seen on streaming or broadcast television, unless it's maybe a sitcom that we've seen. That we've been seeing from, the Disney Plus stuff. We've got multiple episodes, again, Secret Invasion, less than 40 minutes, barely, when you take out the credits and the previously on sequence at the beginning, barely, half an hour or less long, which for a live action, again, premium appointment television show is way, way, way too short. The storytelling has been, all over the place. The pacing has been bad, and you get week after week, you get episodes where comparatively little happens, and it's just like it's just like, again, in comparison to Ahsoka, there are episodes of Ahsoka that should have been, chopped up chopped in half, with the first part added to the previous episode and the second part added to the next episode. I'm thinking particularly of kind of, I want to say we're now on episode 7 of Ahsoka. So episode 5 of Ahsoka, the parts with Anakin should have been the final part of, in my view, of episode 4, and then the second half of episode 5 should have been part of episode 6. That would have, that would have structured things much better. Again, that's my personal opinion. But in Ahsoka and in the other kind of, and in Secret Invasion and in the other Star Wars shows, you get episode after episode where the actual core plot threads either don't move at all or they move glacially. So you get entire episodes where comparatively little happens, or where you have entire sequences or part of the plot in an episode, or even in the entire show, that are completely superfluous, go nowhere, or they're not worth it because the payoff at the end isn't really a payoff at all. I'm thinking of the kind of Hera Syndulla plot line / plot thread running through the season, where she has issues with the civilian leadership of the New Republic. It's just like, it's ended in what I view to be kind of a very kind of amateur hour, kind of appropriate for maybe an animated show, particularly one aimed at children, but not really for premium live action television. And there's nothing like that here. Like, it is so much better. Like, the story flows and keeps going. More happens in this episode than happens in 2 or 3 episodes of Ahsoka back to back. I mean, it feels so much faster, even though the episodes are, the 2 episodes I've seen so far are overall much longer than most of the episodes in Ahsoka and that most of the Star Wars content we've seen up until this point, certainly in the last year or two. Now, again, Loki season 2 is starting sometime soon after Ahsoka ends. After Ahsoka ends, and maybe again the trailers there look somewhat promising. But this show is just, it's so much better made, starting with the kind of foundation stones, the writing, both in terms of the writing of the story and the plot threads overall so far, and the dialogue, and again the acting is better as well. But in the defense of the cast, in the defense of particularly the 3 female leads, effectively in Ahsoka, they've got so little to work with, and there's so little dialogue, again, per minute, as it were, compared to this show. It's, you can't really judge as to how good or bad actresses they are. The cast here, again, both main lead and supporting, are very good, which again, it may well be, as I said in my previous review, in terms of the acting talent of the cast, they may only be mediocre across the board, but they've got really good material to work with, and I think they can act quite well. And it just looks. It just is much better written, both in terms of the dialogue and the story overall. It's much faster paced than anything we've had out of Disney Plus for quite some time. And I cannot understand how a company as big as Disney seems to have botched up the writing on multiple shows back to back. I mean, again, it's COVID. COVID isn't an excuse. You can have, I mean, yeah, maybe having a writer's room that is kind of remote rather than everyone being in the same room at the same time might negatively affect things to a degree, but not to such an extreme degree that the quality control is so not there with Disney. But again, Amazon has, or the people, the production company making this show for Amazon, I think Seth Rogen owns it as one of the people involved here. Just like with The Boys, they've done a great job, and it just shows you how, irrespective of the fancy CGI and the space sequences and the relatively good production values, although again using the volume rather than constantly, rather than doing location shooting, is clearly hurting the Disney Plus shows compared to either Andor, which is also a Disney Plus show, which is mostly location shooting, and this, which is, again, appears to be just location after location after location. If there are sets, and I assume there are some, they're very well put together and they're used sparingly. It's it really, irrespective of the production quality or the lack thereof, the writing is just, I mean, again, I'm like a broken record, but the writing is just so much better than what we've seen out of this Star Wars shows over the last, say, 2 years at this point. Maybe even going further back than that. I can't remember exactly when Obi-Wan Kenobi came out, but that was not good. And the recent, again, Miss Marvel, didn't like that. Secret Invasion was a $200 million train wreck. Again, I didn't watch Moon Knight. What else have I didn't was there? I'm sure there have been other shows that I've either watched or I just can't remember them, frankly, at this point. Well, it's usually they've been alternating between MCU content and Star Wars content. So I might have ignored Moon Knight, and then it was Star Wars content, and it was something else, and then you get the idea. I can't remember the exact chronology of which MCU shows came out in which order. But again, it's not a question of, in terms of the quality of the show, in terms of the fact that it's kind of R-rated with lots of violence or gore, the cast can swear. That was never in Star Wars to begin with, and I wouldn't expect to see that necessarily in a Marvel show either. But just the again, broken record, the quality of the writing is just so much better here. Compared to what is in Ahsoka, or let alone the even more poorly written and poorly made Star Wars shows we've had before this. Again, Mandalorian Season 3, disorganized, poorly written mess. The same is true for Book of Boba Fett. Obi-Wan Kenobi was just, in my view, terrible across the board. I can't understand how a company with the kind of money, resources, and talent pool that it has access to in the US and elsewhere has screwed things up on such a key foundational, area. In other words, the writing, as much as Disney has. And so this is, again, another, specifically genre show that puts both the Star Wars and the MCU content completely to shame, particularly, again, considering that this is a superhero show, aka just like the MCU stuff is. It's just so much better written, and everything else is layered on top of that. Just really just builds and builds and builds. The cast who are able to do do their lines and act to the standard that they are. The location shooting, the production quality as a whole, cinematography, direction, it's all either on par or better than what we're getting from Star Wars. And the writing is just so much better. Again, if the writing isn't there, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at everything else. If the writing's not there, the writing's not there. And the case of Secret Invasion, it clearly was. I don't know why that show exists. I don't know why it was made. I was initially somewhat positive on it, being kind of on Secret Invasion, given the benefit of the doubt. But at this point, after that, and Ahsoka is still better than it, but it's still nowhere near good enough. And this just shows you what kind of you can get out of premium streaming television shows. And this is 8 episodes in total season length, just like Ahsoka. And I think that when this season is over, I'm going to say this is a vastly better show than anything that's come out of Lucasfilm vis-a-vis Star Wars content on Disney Plus in the last 2 years. Season 1 of The Mandalorian, parts of season 2, I didn't like the season 2 final. Too much member berries for my liking. But again, broken record again, being a broken record, saying broken record at this point. It's just so much better written than what we've gotten out of Disney. And Disney really, really, really needs to up their game if they want to prosper in this space. They really, really do. I don't think there's any spoilers there, but if there is, there isn't. I can't remember, but that's my view on this anyway. Great stuff. It's maybe more of the 3 episodes that are available. I haven't watched the 3rd one yet, so I'll have to wait to say what my opinion is on that one. It might end up being the kind of the middle placeholder episode of the first 3, but we'll have to see. Hopefully, episode 3 is a banger, as good or better than this. But so far, so good. I just, Disney, please watch, please take notes, and please improve your game, because what you're doing right now is not going to allow you to prosper going into the future. This is DafubFilm&TV. Actually, get Seth Rogen to write a Star Wars show. Just pay him to it, even if you don't like the script. I'd love to see that in terms of quality, or let him over-executive produce one, because he clearly knows what he's doing, and the people who are doing a similar job at Disney Plus clearly don't. This is DafubFilm&TV. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Please like the video and ring the bell to get constant notifications of when I upload new content. And again, to please the algorithm gods, please like at the video and kind of comment as much as you can to improve my standing in the algorithm. This is DafubFilm&TV signing off. Toodaloo.